Are you ready?
Starting now?
Oh, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And here we go. This is a good one. We're going to have a night of recovery. It's kind of a little joke, but in all seriousness, we have Chris and Shannon with us, and they were actually part of that documentary, Night of Recovery, which I know we're going to talk about. But first of all, Chris and Shannon, if you guys can at least introduce yourselves briefly, both of you guys introduce yourselves, and then we can get started, okay?
Sure, man. Sounds great. My name is Chris Dreisbach. I'm happy to be here. I'm the host of a documentary on Prime Video called Night of Recovery, where I get to hang out with three of my good friends, one of whom is here with us today, Shannon Moore, and I'll just let him talk now.
Sweet. Thank you, Chris. I'm Chris's sidekick, Shannon Moore. Probably am best known for a career in the professional wrestling industry or sports entertainment, however you want to chalk it up in 2024. Been in all the major companies, and now I work with alcoholics and addicts, trying to help them get sober after I was able to go through the process myself back in 2017. And I met this guy, Chris. We became friends, and Me Too is working on this Night of Recovery show.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, and seriously, we appreciate you guys hopping on, and I know it took a little bit. We had, I think we had to get through the holidays or something like that, trying to get everything scheduled. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys being on, and kind of exciting. I know we've never had a wrestler on yet, right, Mike?
No, we have not.
Yeah, so you're our first wrestler, Shannon, but.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's actually kind of fun, but usually what we do, and you know what? Go ahead, Mike. Explain what we do and how we do it, and then we'll get rolling. Okay?
Well, real quick, we want to get to know you guys a little bit. We don't need drunkalogs. We don't need war stories. We know how to fuck up our lives and fuck up the lives of everybody around us. We want to hear about the solution, how you're staying sober today. So go ahead, guys. Chris, you started, so why don't you go ahead and start? Give us a little background on you.
Man, you want to talk about how we stay sober? How about we fly down to Tampa, Florida, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to hang out with Shannon in 60-degree weather when he's shivering and crying. Both of these guys are from up north, Shannon, so they're on my team.
Right.
And there's plenty of homes for sale in Florida, guys.
No, I mean, I think one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to recovery and it comes to staying sober long term is service to others and selfless action and just kind of doing things because. And it was a really particularly annoying thing when I first got into recovery in 2007. I had a sponsor, and my sponsor was telling me to do these ridiculous things, like go back to the halfway house that I lived in and fold another dude's laundry, and I'm like, minutes out of jail. I'm ready to just like fight anything that moves because I hate being at this halfway house. And this guy who's like way happier than me, living a way better life than me, tells me to go fold another dude's laundry. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't want to go back to jail yet. So I'll go fold this dude's laundry. And I'm like, call him the next day. I'm like, yo, Drew, folded this dude's laundry. What? What do you want to do? And he was like, all right, man, just go home and like find the dude you hate the most and do his chore and don't tell him you did it. And I was like, come
Right.
on, man. Like, I ain't doing this shit. Like, I don't want to. No, and like every day he would give me a silly little task or something to do. And little did I know he was tricking me into selfless acts of service. And
Right.
like that, having somebody in my life, a mentor, a person like him, to teach me how to crush out that selfless or selfishness in such a simple way. Because like, I'm an idiot. I would fight you on everything under the sun. But when you put it in such simple, practical ways, like I latched right onto it, and I haven't let go, and it's been like 17 years.
Right.
Nice.
So that's a simple little story to start out with. I'll let Shannon talk though, because he's going to bolt on us a little early.
Right.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. Shannon gave us that right off the bat, saying, "Oh, I'm going to throw a wrench in this. I'm leaving shortly." We're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah,
No, you don't have to apologize.
busy week.
Just the fact that we were talking about that, the fact that people even take time out of their lives, to be on this thing and talk silly with us is it's great. So no, it's perfect.
Yeah, yeah, man. Like I'm with Chris, man. Like what keeps me sober, and the reason that I love being sober and in recovery and in this new community that I never knew existed. It's the selflessness, right? I just remember whenever I first got sober, like my sponsor told me right off the bat, like this is a selfish but selfless program, and I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I was like, selfish but selfless. What are you talking about?
Right.
But finally, like whenever you understand what that's really about, like being selfless, man, like that's the main thing. And it's like Chris said, like being around people that share that same feeling and that same passion for being selfless and being of service. I think for me, like that's the biggest thing. Like we always hear as a kid, and like our parents or just anybody that we look up to whenever we're younger, they say, you are who you hang out with, and like stick with the winners and all that. Back in the day, we were like, oh, you sound like a nerd. Like, no, stick with the winners. So, but like, it's so true, man. Like, I don't hang out with people that's gonna, push me down. I want to be around people that's gonna pull me up, and I want to be around people that's doing better than me, and like doing this selfless thing better than me. Um, and I think, along with that, and then like for me too, my spirituality, like I never understood what my spirituality was. I never understood a God concept or anything like that. And, getting sober and being in recovery, it really let me look at that. And, like I'm not going to sit here and 12 step everybody and all that good stuff, but, like I think going through a 12 step program, they say that it's a ladder to God. And I truly believe that. Like, like I believe that you can't have one without the other. You can't have this God concept of whatever you may believe without having the other part of it. And I think, my spirituality is a big thing of it too. Just making sure I'm on top of, my spiritual game, making sure I'm being selfless and that I'm giving back. And at this point too, man, like those two go together. And I went to church this past Sunday, and like that was what they were talking about, was like just as far as being of service and just helping others and all that good stuff. And like I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I would love to be in a position to be able to do more for people. And it's
Right.
like I think that's the driving force for me, is like, okay, how can I be successful to do more for others? Now it's not about being successful to buy materialistic objects for me, because like I've had that life. I've lived that life where I had the big houses, the cars and all that crazy stuff. And like, it didn't make me happy. I remember sitting in my big house in the living room in North Carolina, couple years before I went into treatment, and thinking to myself how empty I felt. I was like, man, this don't even feel like home. And I
Right.
was sitting in this beautiful home that I always dreamed of. Um, so I think it's that, man. It's like not focusing on materialistic stuff. It's focusing on other human beings and making sure that I can make somebody else's life better.
Well, and you mentioned, and I was actually going to ask about the 12-step thing, but it sounds you already mentioned it. And the thing of it is, and we've had people on here, Mike and I are both 12-step people. We were brought up through the program. Neither one of us are the quote unquote mainstream God people, but we do believe in higher powers and all that sort of thing. Everything you said, we agree with. We're just not God people, but there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, the 12-step side of things, we talk about it. We don't force it down people's throats because there's plenty of people out there that are getting sober other ways. But we've had people on here that did not do an AA thing, but ended up doing an AA thing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. They followed another path that didn't call it the same thing. There's a gentleman that we had on, handful of episodes, right, Mike, when we had Nico on?
Right.
Um, and he's telling us about this mentor and he wanted what he had and all these different things, but it wasn't an AA thing. And we're like, wow, it is. He was going through the same process, just on a little bit of a different road. So yeah, we agree with all that. And God, how many times were we told that, Mike, to get out there and help somebody and pray for people that we hated, right?
Right. Exactly. Right. It's well, Bob used to call it doesn't add up. It's AA math. How is doing something for somebody else make our lives better? I still don't understand it. I don't ever want to really understand it. All I know is that it works. I do something for somebody else and my life gets better. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, right? Not at all. So Shannon, were you always in the Tampa area, or did you? Because I know that. I guess maybe explain the part where how you guys met, how you met Chris, and how that whole thing happened.
Yeah, I heard about Chris a long time ago. You know, through mutual friends, like X Pac. I think I even heard X Pac talk about him. We've had some long conversations about him, but everything that I heard about Chris, like before I ever even met him and had to make a decision on my own, like I was like, this dude sounds pretty cool. Like he sounds like he's, like he loves to help people. And this was whenever I was probably still in my active addiction too. Like whenever I was hearing this stuff. So like even back then, like I was hearing about, Chris and just what he was about. And then obviously whenever I met him, it's like, even Chris, man, like we're on this, I'm doing this night of recovery thing. We're doing this together and walking along with this. I mean, obviously is his production, but like we come together to do this thing, and we've been talking about this thing and envisioning this thing. But like Chris is another person that, once I started to get to know him, and even now, like I'm still learning a lot about him. It's like he's the person that I want to be around, like because Chris is doing what I want to be able to do, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, like the things that he does for people that, like whether they're getting back on their feet, like helping them start businesses and all this stuff. It's like, man, that's magic. Like that's unheard of. You don't see that. You never see people do selfless acts like that to get back on their feet. And I'm a firm believer because I've had those opportunities where somebody believed in me for a moment and I turned that into success. My tattoo shop, it was the same way, like I had a moment where I had a little bit of money and I took a chance and it turned out to this, into this magical business that, still exists today. I still get people wanting to get tattooed today. I just don't have a shop now. But like taking a chance on somebody, especially in recovery, I think that you get, it's magic, and those people like they will better themselves and they will work hard whenever you can give them that opportunity. So, what Chris is doing today, like it made me realize like who he was as a person, and I was like, man, he's pretty cool. But then it also like has shown me like, man, like that's exactly like where I want to go, is to be able to help people like that once I'm in a place where I can.
Right. So were you in Philadelphia when you met him, or how did that work?
Well, I think we met just obviously through the phone and phone contact first,
Okay.
and then we end up putting the first show together, and I flew up, and that's the first time I think I probably met you, Chris, right?
In person, but we actually did those pandemic town hall things virtually. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
That was like the precursor to Night of Recovery, when we were all just like crazy bored during pandemic times, and we're like, what can we do to entertain people?
Right.
And we whipped together a pretty cool like virtual town hall style thing with some notable folks, and Shannon was one of them.
Well, and that was the one thing. There weren't a lot of like huge positive things that came out of worldwide pandemic. But one of the things that I saw was and Mike and I talked about this quite a bit, is when it first happened, all of these online groups popped up on all over social media, just for people to get in there and chit chat and whatever. And then all these different groups, went online with their Zoom meetings and everything like that. The way that, I don't know, you say you take a program like Alcoholics Anonymous that's 87 or almost 88 years old, and to have that type of quickness happen in what could be like a dinosaur type of community, it was pretty cool to me. And I know a lot of people started podcasts. We didn't start this back then, which that probably would have been a great time though, right, Mike? But
Yeah, probably. Been late to the party as usual.
yeah, we did. This was out of a fucking whim to begin with, but no forethought put into it like it sounds like you guys did. But it was nice to see all those things that came out of. And when you talk about opportunities to now meet people and new opportunities that people have these days to get sober, whether it's to watch your documentary or go online to a meeting, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen the same thing pop up, that just so many more opportunities for people these days, which is great, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when like online meetings were kind of new. It might have been like 2011 or 12, and I had a friend who was super into online meetings, and it was just like AOL chat room style like meetings. And
Right.
the first time I had to speak at an online chat room meeting was probably the weirdest moment of my entire recovery.
Right. Yeah, and I don't. I mean, for the life of me, I don't know that. Did you ever hear of online meetings before the pandemic, Mike?
No.
Yeah, and I
I'm
don't.
stuck in
they
a church
certainly
basement
weren't.
somewhere.
They're not the most popular.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, honestly,
but like Bill was saying, the pandemic, kind of forced us to do it. I mean, when it was happening, if you wanted to gather with fellow alcoholics and drug addicts, we had to go online and do it because we were all locked in our houses.
Right. Right.
see another reason you guys should move to Florida, because us crazy Floridians, we had live meetings.
Right.
Yeah, and I know there was some, people were gathering outside and stuff like that if they could, but man, there was just so many different areas that literally wouldn't allow it. In the meetings, were
Right.
not sanctioned, but people still got together. But in Shannon, I know you're running short on time, so maybe tell us a little bit about what you're doing down in Tampa. So, I mean, it sounds like you're trying to build some things down there right now, right?
Yeah, man. Like God, I got sober in 2017, so I'm moving into like 6 years in a month or so, whatever. But it's like the last 3 years, last 4 years have been amazing, because my main focus, like I still wrestle, and like I love wrestling, I love professional wrestling, but like whenever I went through treatment, I was in treatment for a while, and I did the whole sober living thing. And I was allowed to, whenever I was in sober living, to get back on the road a little bit. But whenever I got back on the road, like there was something that I would think about constantly. And that was like helping others, because whenever I was in sober living, I was still helping some of the athletes that would come through the treatment center I was working for at that moment. And like it was just fun, man. It was like I felt like my purpose was to help, right? And my sponsor was telling me that I need to be of service. Everybody was telling me this stuff, but once I started doing it and seeing that I was making a difference, like my priorities changed. Then like it went from being on the road, and like I had the opportunity to go to Japan for a while. I turned it down, and then as time went, like the CEO of the company's like, hey man, like something's natural with this in the way that you are helping these clients. Why don't you start taking some classes and do some things around here? Let us hire you. You can come in as a tech. So I just started as, just being a tech, man, and just being there for the clients and helping where I could. And then from there, just, it just kind of built, and I got some certifications that I needed. And then, like now, man, like, what am I, 5 years later, going into, or it's my 6th year sober, but 5 years of really buckling down and working in the recovery industry. And I'm the client relations manager, Riverside Recovery here in Tampa. And, my job there is, I'm basically a peer support specialist that works with veterans and pro athletes. I make sure that these clients, that they get what they need whenever they come into treatment. I work with the clinical team. I'm part of the clinical team. I run groups. I do everything that that a therapist does, basically, as a, from a peer support specialist standpoint. And then, like I do a lot of networking. I do a lot of, I'm kind of a multi-tool there, honestly. Like, that's my job title, but, I'm part of management, and, like we try to help people, man, and on a daily basis. And it's the greatest thing ever. And I got a fun team that I really love working with, that shares the same vision with these people that come into treatment. And, that's where my passion is. And then, secondary, like I'm still wrestling, and, I'm trying to get my tattoo shop open this year. Like that's a big goal of mine that just I haven't been able to do. So I've got all these different little avenues that I'm crawling down, but the main focus on doing this stuff is doing exactly what Chris is doing. It's amazing that God put Chris, and I know you guys aren't God people, but for me, like, God put this person into my life that shares this vision that, like, I could see myself in, like, 5 years ago. Then here he is, kind of like he's doing it. So, like, it gives me more, I guess it kicks me in the ass, making me want to get there quicker, but eventually.
Yeah, that's
Right.
I'm a horrible person when it comes to patience, but and the thing of it is, let me just kind of step back on the whole God thing. We are all of the opinion, Mike and I, that there's something else out there. We get all that point, and we don't, whatever people want to call it, but we're also firm believers in exactly what you just said. People, places, and things are put in front of us for a reason, and there's no accident by it. It happens, and a lot of it's just doing the next right thing, doing the work, helping other people, realizing that all these different things that happen to us out there have really nothing to do with us. We've got to do the work, yes, but there's a plan in place. So we get it absolutely, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mike, did I interrupt you, or were you about to say something too?
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, but I think Shannon said he needed to scoot out of here at 8:25, and it's 8:29. So
Yeah, I got a few more minutes, man.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
all right.
wife-
I'm just
whenever
trying to
my
look out
wife
for you, brother.
I'm waiting for my wife to yell at me, and then I'll tell you guys what to
Oh,
talk
we're all right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much life, man.
Right. Yeah. I've had two of those before. I don't have one now, but I had two of those.
Yeah, man, they're great. Once you find the right one, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
Tell you
Well,
what.
you know what? And I found out, and I joke about this, but it's true. I mean, I'm sober now. That helps. But I joke about making an excellent ex-husband, because I get along with both of them really well now. But it's, yeah, probably not being the drunken dickhead that I was when I was married to both of them. So probably, right, Mike?
Yeah.
You know,
Odds are.
Odds are.
talk about people, like coming into your life, and God bringing people into your life. Like, it's amazing. Like, I've been married twice too, myself, but the lady that I'm married to now, like, she's so supportive, and just like I've never had somebody like that in my life. So it's amazing whenever you find that right person, and you guys are a team,
Right.
and you work together. Like, there's nothing like it.
So just
Yeah, well, it's great help that you're carrying half of the load now, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, you can actually have a successful relationship when you're doing your part. Imagine that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and in curiosity, Shannon, is your wife sober, or is she a normie?
No, she's sober. She's in recovery herself.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's a hell of a woman, man, that knows nothing about wrestling, could care less about wrestling or knows nothing that I've done in wrestling other than what people tell her. And she's like, well, he's just Shannon to me, so I don't care.
Right.
Nice.
So that's pretty awesome because like I've never been with somebody that wasn't in the wrestling industry. And like this lady come into my life and it's like, what? Like, what? We would never have ended up together, 8 years ago.
Right. Yeah, it is funny the people that we meet and the people that we would have never been friends with. And Mike and I we always talk about this. Are a great example. There's no reason in the world why he and I ever would have met. If we did,
Nope.
Mike's joke is that he probably would have robbed me.
Right. Easy mark.
Yeah, just some drunk dude walking down the street. He would have beat me over the head and taken whatever little money I had left and went on his way. But yeah, and like Mike said, being able to obviously be a part of, and that's when I got sober, my son was 9. My ex and I were already divorced, but I had that opportunity, even though it was at a distance because I was in Cleveland and they were in Wisconsin, to actually help raise my son, for the from 9 until, well, currently. I mean, we still talk about he's 23 years old, but kids always need a little bit of help. But again, being sober and being there and being able to work together, huge. And surprisingly, we get along now. So
Yeah.
makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah, the kids thing, like that's a whole dynamic. Like I never planned on having kids whenever, ever. Like it wasn't in my, it wasn't in my cards just because I figured that my life would be living out of a suitcase in a hotel in the wrestling industry for the rest of my life probably. So I never thought it was fair, like to have these kids that I'd never see. But my wife, she had 2 kids, in her previous relationships, and it's they came into my life, man, and like these kids are everything to me,
Right.
and it's like, I think I love them. I mean, I do love them just like they're my own kids, and it's my daughter. She just had our first grandkid, and it's like this little thing, man. Like I remember holding him and talking about like recovery and the way it makes you think and look back and reflect. It's like I remember holding him in the hospital, just in one hand and just looking at him like the day he was born, and I just had like this. It was like a movie being rewound, just going through my head of all the craziness that like I'd been through in my life, all the way to my childhood and the just the craziness of my childhood. And I just remember like it stopped, and I was like, man, I hope the world doesn't take you like it did me, and I just hope it's a better experience than what I had. Um, it's crazy. It's crazy where your thoughts go whenever you have kids
Right.
that come into your life in some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the beautiful thing is you're sober and you're conscious and present for him, and you get to be there and make his little world a better place because you're doing the next right thing. That's the cool thing about it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah. Mike's got a granddaughter that what did she turn? You got
She's
sober.
going to be 16 in May.
Yeah. and she was barely 2 when he got sober. So
Right.
she's never known any other person but that person we see now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I have a grandson that's going to be 2 in March, and I saw him because I go up to where my daughter and son-in-law live, and I got to see my grandson 2 days after he was born, and same deal. You're holding this this little human being, and I'm like, oh my God, he's wonderful.
Yeah.
He runs my ass ragged, but man, I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd rather have that little shit run my ass ragged than half the other things I have to deal with in life, which in my life is not bad, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Grandkids are a whole different level. Kids are wonderful, and especially having kids come into your life like you had mentioned. But man, these grandkids are just, you can't even explain it.
Yeah. I mean, you want to build everything around them. Like now, anything that I do now, and I tell my wife, I'm like, man, I gotta get this tattoo shop open somehow because like, I gotta give this kid options. Like, when can he start jiu-jitsu? I want him to be a world champion. And when can we get him in wrestling? Because it's like, I just want him to do all the things right that I did wrong. And it's like, man, if you could just do that, man, you're going to be okay. But then I have to take a step back and go, well, I'm not your dad. So I need to pull back a little bit. Everybody's like, you're not his dad. Would you quit putting him in jiu-jitsu? He's only one. Like, he's not ready yet.
I was just going to ask how old he was, but yeah, that made me laugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like Mike said, we've got a chance now to be present, in all these little people's lives. Well, people in general, but yeah, definitely all these little people's lives. And yeah, it's a pretty wonderful thing. So what else did you got? You guys are trying to get the documentary going up in Tampa too, or is that what you're working on?
Yeah.
Shannon, you can talk about that.
You sure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're good at it.
You're good too, though.
Yeah, man. Like, so, Tampa, the one reason that I ended up in Tampa is because of the recovery community. Whenever I went through treatment, I seen this recovery community down here that was non-existent to what, I'd went home and visited North Carolina, like while I was in treatment, and went out to some of the meetings, and there just wasn't a community there that was strong. Tampa's got this young, hip, like just, middle-aged vibe of recovery here that, it's hard to find in places. Between the meetings, between all the activities that go on here, it was just so easy to go out and figure out how to have fun with a group of people that are shooting for the same goals. So I ended up moving down here and, working in, the treatment industry down here now, and just being connected down here. Like there's not, all I could think about it, before me and Chris even really started talking about this is like, man, like we could do something huge here that would be so fun and so awesome and so educational. But I just wasn't aligned with anybody at that point, like that had the same vision. And then, like once me and Chris connected, it was like, boom, there's two people that are thinking pretty much the same thing.
Right.
But, we really wasn't focused on Tampa at the time. But as this thing's grown and like, we started, like wanting to take this thing across the nation, man, like, it just makes sense to bring it to Tampa, where this recovery community is, because it's, there's no doubt that it's going to be amazing once it comes through.
Right. Yeah, and I mean and we both got, well, Mike is still in Cleveland, but both of us got sober out there, and I mean, we talk about it all the time, but in our opinion, there's nothing like Cleveland AA and Cleveland meetings, and I've been to different meetings around the country, not all over the place. Mike, you have too, right? I mean, in different areas, and there's just difference with Cleveland, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're 40 minutes away from where Dr. Bob and Bill met each other down in Akron. So, I mean, this was, the first world, conference was here in Cleveland in like 1955. And, this is the oldest men's meeting in the world is here in Cleveland still, Doan's Men's. And it's just, there's it's been here forever. Sister Ignatia came up and worked in Cleveland after she was working in Akron. We actually knew a gentleman who knew Sister Ignatia quite well.
Right.
So I mean, the roots of AA are here. So yeah, it's a special place. I love it here. There's tons and tons of meetings. There's tons of support, and it's a great place. You guys, either of you guys ever been to Founders Day in Akron? Now in June, it's cool, man. They fill up a football stadium, and it's the big Saturday night meeting is in the football stadium, and there's like 15,000 drunks, and it's amazing.
That's
it's cool, man. If you guys ever get the chance, man, come on up to Cleveland or down to Akron. And it's, what is it, the second weekend of June?
Yeah, usually someplace between the 10th and like the 14th or 15th, right in that area, 9th
right.
and 13th.
I think I believe the 11th is the actual day.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's cool, man.
Yeah,
you'll see us there.
Yeah, we were taken. Well, Mike wanted to go. I was taken to Founders Day the first year in 2010 when we got sober. I did not want to be there. Mike actually chose to go with a bunch of people. And then we've gone every other year. We missed 2 years because of the pandemic, and I missed 1 year because I was babysitting for my grandson, I think 2 years ago. But it's a great time. Dr. Bob's house is there. We always try to take new guys and with us and tour Dr. Bob's house. There's a meeting. There's a big book, history of the big book thing. It's a huge sober gathering, and it's this party atmosphere, but everyone's sober. It's ridiculously fun. And again, it's the birthplace of Alcoholics Anonymous. So yeah, definitely, if you guys have the chance, come up there. We'll meet you up there. It's a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool. Cool.
I've been watching people do it for years, heading over to Ohio, but I never joined them.
Yeah, and it's what is the ticket, Mike? $30, $35 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, it's like $30 to get into the main meeting. All the rest of it's free.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And if you're hanging out long enough and you need a ticket, somebody will get one for you. You know how that goes.
Right. Yeah, and I mean for us, I mean Mike still lives in Cleveland, so I mean anytime I go out there, I mean I've got a place to stay. We just drive down there, but there's people that head up. I mean there's this what do you think, Mike? I mean a football field sized parking lot, full of motorcycles that's there. So they got motorcycles, they got camping, they have all this different stuff around there. And then,
people come from around the world. I mean, there's people from Australia, and there's always a Polish contingent. And
right.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, but yeah, if you get the opportunity, and it's not for everyone. We've got like our sponsor in Cleveland. He had no desire. Did he ever go? Did Joe ever go? That Mike?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know he wasn't anywhere about it. He would kind of not make fun of us, be like, yeah, I guess you guys are going to Founders Day again. But man, we have a great time. My sister, our sister goes every year. She's not one of us, but she likes to go, likes to hang out and have fun with us. So yeah, it's it's a huge amount of fun.
Fellas, I am being summoned now, and
right.
I have to take this because if not, then
absolutely. You're not in control, man.
I'll never be allowed back on a podcast ever again.
Powers greater than ourselves running our lives.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah,
Shannon, hey, man, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the time. Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully we'll have you back on when you got a little more time to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Anytime, man. Just let me know when. I'll be here.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Me and Chris, we love to do some podcasts.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Chris, hang out, and then Shannon, whatever. I can disconnect you if you can't, but make sure you let everything upload for you before you get out of your screen, though. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think you can exit out. Shannon. Yeah, you can exit out if I think on your end, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
cool.
Shannon.
All right. Well, we're going to do that. And while he's doing that, we're going to be right back with more of Sober Not Mature and Chris right after this word from our sponsor.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi there.
And, yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have two websites now. So two websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. But from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
At least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And
They
once
are.
again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com.
.com.
.com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone, you've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone, welcome back. And then there was 3. And yeah, actually, Chris, now you kind of get the floor now. That was nice. I'm glad Shannon was able to hang out for a few more minutes than he thought. But yeah, it was good to obviously have him on and learn a little bit more about what he's doing down in Tampa. But yeah, so I mean, Chris, go into whatever you want to talk about. We want to talk more about obviously the documentary, a little bit more about your background, anything you want to share. We like to use this as a kind of an open forum, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
Man, I feel like that is so broad, and why don't we talk about the documentaries?
Let's do it.
Because
Let's do it.
it's one of the reasons I've been doing so many gosh darn podcasts lately. So many just kind of fun, awesome things to meet new people. Like yesterday, Shannon and I were on Great Day Live Tampa in the morning, and just being like in a TV station for a dude who used to be homeless and eat out of dumpsters is like,
right.
It's kind of unbelievable,
right?
And like Shannon was talking about, I had a baby like a year and a half ago. I'm not as old as you guys, so I don't have any grandkids, but just like all that stuff I could relate to now,
Right.
And I waited what's almost 16 years into recovery to have a kid, because I was so hyper focused on building businesses and building other people's lives, and consequently then building my own life almost against my will, really.
Right.
And it's just so cool when the universe, so Shannon likes to say God, I kind of shifted more into the universe, because the universe kind of tosses me places that I never would even imagine that I'd be.
Right.
And it's a little bit less offensive to some people, because it's 2024. Like, people get offended about everything right now.
Yeah, fuck them.
So like, I remember being in so we have this real cool diversion program too, where we send out certified recovery specialists with law enforcement to help people go to treatment instead of incarceration, which is huge for me, because I spent several hundred days of my life incarcerated, and I like to do everything I can to keep people out of jail. And so like, dude, there's just so many crazy, amazing things going on. I don't even know what to tell you. Like,
whatever
and then
you want.
we talk about, well, that's what I'm saying. There's so many things. And then you talk about Shannon Moore, this dude who, isn't really that much older than me, but I watched on TV when I was a kid, and he, throws out endorsements left and right like that earlier on in the show. Man, like, is this even real life? And that's
Exactly.
that's what recovery is to me. It's such an open book. And if you're aware of opportunity and you have the right heart and are focused on other people, you never know where the world's going to take you.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Well, I don't do much research, because that's just how I do this, but
Me either.
I did read exactly. But I was reading the little thing that Bill posted, and a name popped out at me talking about people that you wouldn't normally meet. Vice presidential candidate, man. Spike Cohen. How the fuck did you hook up with him?
So Spike, actually, I ended up on Spike's podcast.
Okay.
3 or 4 years ago, I want to say. And it's because of that diversion program. He's a huge fan of the idea of people not going to jail because it's pointless. And,
It's a disease, not a crime.
Correct. Addiction's not a crime. It's really like the whole premise of this thing we have going here in Lancaster. And
Mhm.
he became aware of it through some mutual friends in the libertarian world.
Right.
And, you know, I ended up on his podcast and I was like hanging out with him beforehand, talking a little bit. And I was like, damn, like this guy is legit really cool.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so we were talking a little bit deeper. And here I find out he's in recovery.
Right.
I never realized it. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, how cool is this? So we just kind of stayed in touch, you know, became friends, and we filmed this mini docu-series called Repurposed that actually also just dropped on Prime Video. If you're bored and you want to watch four episodes of awesome recovery stories, look up Repurposed on Prime Video. But Spike is actually episode 2,
Cool.
and his story is unbelievable, man. Like,
Mhm.
the first episode is Brandon Novak. So if you know much about Brandon Novak, his story is bonkers and filled with all sorts of mayhem and craziness and, you know, heroin and being on MTV and, you know, nuts stuff.
Sure.
And then episode 2 is Spike, who has a totally different story. You know, he had a successful business. He was a, you know, heavy drinker and marijuana user. And, you know, he never let it get to the point where Brandon got. And I love the idea of this docuseries being called Repurpose because it's really just about people finding their purpose
Right.
Mhm.
from an otherwise purposeless life. And it was so cool to have that stark contrast between those 2 first episodes. But yeah, man, it's just super awesome to be able to connect with people that you never thought you would. So yeah, that's how I met Spike, and I'm still honored to call him a friend.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, you know, I'm a registered libertarian, so he got my vote last time.
My man, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, that's and we rarely, well, I would say never talk about politics on here, but Mike
Right.
and I ended up inadvertently. So when we were literally thrown together in this thing, we met at the sober living facility, and then I love the fact that you talk about the universe, because that's what we've joked about it, but I mean, we're probably more about the universe throwing shit together than we are a God thing or whatever. But it's cool. Like you said, you know, some people get offended, but we don't care what people want to call it. Let people think what they want. But we're also not afraid to say what we believe in, you know, and it's, we do you do you. It's easy. But so throughout this entire process, Mike and I become better friends and this and that. And I don't even remember what election it was, Mike, but you and I started talking about something. Maybe it was a Facebook post. And then we're both
Mhm.
talking about this libertarian candidate, this Green Party, this third party candidate. And I'm like, fuck, man, we're even politically aligned. You know, and people, you know, always talk about that, which again, we're not going to get into politics, but it's funny how you end up, you know, people say, and Mike and I talked about this a couple episodes ago, were we drawn the people who drank, or did we just end up there, type of thing. And I think the same thing happens in recovery. You know, everyone has their story. Everyone comes from a different, you know, life and background and all those different things, but we're all in the same place looking for the same solution. And I think just invariably, or by accident or by whatever, you end up, you know, same thing. You get drawn to the same type of people. And Mike and I don't look the same. We are not from the same background, but I mean, we literally even joke about having, you know, the same. We operate on the same brain. I can't remember
Right.
something.
We share a
Yeah,
brain.
especially with this shit that we do, because I'm like, for the life of me, I'm like, I can't fucking remember this, and he remembers it, and we, you know, we're able to fill that sort of thing in. But yeah, it's just kind of weird, the people you come across. But now Brandon, so we had, do you know who Todd Logan is, Chris?
Tim?
No, it's Todd. Isn't it Todd?
Todd?
Or is it?
Don't ask me, man. I'm horrible with names.
Oh God, now.
Yeah, I don't even know who I am most
Right.
days. So,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you know what? It might actually be Tim. We had him on as a guest, and he was childhood friends with Brandon. So he brought him.
Yeah.
He brought him up on our podcast episode, and then because I think did Brandon know Bam, what's his face from MTV and all that sort of stuff, and forget how it was.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So when and I follow, I mean, our page, you know, follows Brandon on Instagram, so I see a lot of the stuff. But I mean, I kind of have an idea of what he's doing. So when I was watching, your documentary, the Night of Recovery, and I saw him walk on, they're like, "Oh, we got a special guest." I'm like, "Holy fuck!" Because I've never heard Brandon's entire story. I've heard bits and pieces on his posts, but I was just kind of blown away. I'm like, it's a small world. I mean, that not that I know Brandon, but I know of him, and then being on your documentary, I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, it was very cool.
It's like a small world, man. And the reason that we did that on that particular night of recovery was because Curt, who's one of the featured speakers there, he actually was kind of pushed towards recovery from the inspirational videos that Brandon would put out and like Steve-O would put out, and those different guys who, had that celebrity status. Their ability to reach people and connect with people is something that definitely can't be underestimated in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Sure.
And, it was kind of really amusing because Brandon's a friend of mine. And I was like, oh, damn, Curt let it slip during conversation that Brandon was one of his big inspirations. And so Curt was going to be in Lancaster. We were going to throw this, night of recovery together. And I was like, yo, Brandon, you really, you inspired this guy. Do you mind like taking a whole night off to come up here for, for this whole thing just to surprise him on stage? And he was like, absolutely, dude. No questions asked. Just blocked off his whole night, came up, hung out, surprised him live on stage, on camera. And man, it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience.
Yeah, I mean that was cool. I mean things like that, especially I don't know, a surprise birthday party or whatever it is, what it is. But yeah, I mean the look on his face when you said Brandon was there and then Brandon walks out, I was just like, that was really cool. And I did not. I'll be 100% honest. I didn't get through the entire thing. I got to a little bit over the halfway point, but it was really cool. I mean the fact that you guys were able to put that together, and I guess maybe step back at that. How did that come about? How did you end up putting it together? Where was that, filmed, and how did that all come about?
Well, we have a cool wrestling company over here in Lancaster called Three Legacies Wrestling that I actually partner with Jesus Rodriguez, one of the other featured speakers, who was another guy who'd been in the WWE, who came over here to get sober. And, once he got sober, got through the process a little bit, we were talking about like what he wanted to do with the rest of his life when he grew up, And he said, man, I've traveled all over the world. I've trained people to wrestle in Egypt. I've trained people to wrestle in Australia. I've trained people to wrestle in India. I've trained people to wrestle in the UK, Germany, blah, 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 blah. Rattle them off. He's been there. He's done that. But I've never had my own thing, he said. And so we gave him his own thing.
Right.
We set up Three Legacies Wrestling, and now he has a wrestling academy. He's a business owner. He's an entrepreneur. He's building something of his own, a legacy of his own, and we call it Three Legacies Wrestling. I guess you could probably guess why.
Right?
Maybe, being some old school AA dudes, you could probably put two and three together. Yeah. And, from that, we do large events on occasion. Wrestling events, and so we bring out some of our friends, and just so happened that like three of the guys we were bringing out to the wrestling event were also in recovery. So we were like, why don't we put on a really cool night of recovery and like share our stories in a little theater and talk about it. And so what happened was we did that in February. It was such a success. I mean, we had, I think 3 people went to treatment just that night.
Wow.
From the event. And, we have an awesome production company, Babaconda Productions, and guys were just super committed to getting this message out there, and they filmed it and it went out, and just unbelievable stuff. The response from people, the raw emotional power of a night like that, and guys being open and honest and just completely raw about where they came from, what they did, what happened, and how they are now. And I'll never get tired of it.
Right.
As long as I live, never.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it pretty much doesn't matter what level it's on. It's 2 guys sitting in a church basement, or you guys in a theater with some, name people. It's sharing your experience, strength, and hope with each other, and sharing that hope. That's the big one. and giving hope to someone else. Like you said, 3 guys left that night and went into treatment. That's pretty fucking amazing, man.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. And then we're like, well, we're going to get together and hang out again in August. Why don't we do another one? And then it kind of ballooned into like that being such a success. Actually, I think we did one in May in Philadelphia in between. But it's just like, we're going to do this. We're going to be together. Why don't we do it? And now we're being more intentional about it. So we've been talking
Sure.
to Riverside, the treatment center that Shannon works for. We've been talking to them about trying to set up a night of recovery tour through Florida to be able to impact more communities with these nights of recovery.
Nice.
And, we're still working through the details on that. Obviously, it's a rather large undertaking, but, I couldn't be more excited. We just spent a couple days down there with them in Tampa, and what a beautiful recovery community.
Right. Yeah, and like Mike said too, I mean, whether it's a couple of guys in a basement or some big name people, I love the fact that this whole addiction thing, this whole recovery thing, the disease that all of us somehow ended up with, makes us all the same size. I was going to say small, but that's a wrong way to put it. But you know what I mean. Doesn't matter if you have $300 million or $3 in your pocket. We're all sitting there in the same place, But you take a guy like a Brandon Novak or even Shannon and the other guys who came from this whole wrestling scene, and people watching them on TV and they're like, wait a second, this dude's the same as I am, or Mike and I have known, doctors and lawyers and judges, and we've known people that were, literally, gutter drunks and gutter junkies and everyone in between. And it didn't matter. I had a sponsor in the Milwaukee area when I lived there, and he used to say it the best way. He said that the same dog that bit you bit me too. And it doesn't matter. And it's cool that, it doesn't matter where you are. The stories are the same. Words are a little bit different, but you can reach people and have an effect on people in any medium, which is really cool.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, you guys started this podcast, and how many people have been helped just by you guys hanging out and talking?
Right. Well,
I'd bet a lot.
And the funny thing is that because as most alcoholics and drug addicts are, we did this kind of selfishly, and we'll tell you that I'll make this as short as possible. So cut me off, Mike, if I'm talking too long, because I know you will. So.
Yep.
During the pandemic, obviously, meetings and stuff, we talked about that. Everything shuts down. I'm doing online meetings, and then the online meetings start to dwindle a little bit. And I didn't end up going back to the club that I was going to, on a regular basis prior, for whole other reasons that are unimportant. But I felt this void. So I started looking up, somehow ran across a sober podcast. Started listening to that on my way home from work every day. So 30 to 40 minutes a day, I'm getting my meeting, by listening to this podcast. So I'm doing that for a few months. And Mike and I always get together for Thanksgiving at our sister's house. So we're both sitting outside, we're smoking a cigarette, I think, and I'm telling him about this podcast, and I'm telling him about all these stories. And I just said to him, like, we could do that, right? We could just talk a bunch of shit into a microphone, right? So this is,
Absolutely.
Thanksgiving, and that's what he said. He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, yeah. So this is end of November, of course, Thanksgiving time. We didn't launch this until February. That was 21. We launched this in February, end of February 22. So basically procrastinated, as we always do, for a few months.
Mhm.
And then when we started it up, literally bare bones on our phones, Anchor, which is now Spotify for podcasters, had not a fucking clue what we were doing. I mean, no clue. And we just decided that, okay, every Friday night, we're going to get together and we're going to shoot the shit. We had no idea what direction it was going to, we had no plan. And we're like, if anyone listens, fine. If they don't, fuck them, and that's how we started this. and we have, a small-ish Instagram following. We have a small-ish listener base. Okay. But here's the cool part about the people that follow and listen to us, that they're engaged and they're extremely loyal. And it's really cool, and engaged to the point where we get these personal comments. People quote us. We end our episode a certain way, which you'll end up hearing, and people throw that line back at us. I had a guy just the other day, Mike. I posted one picture. Oh, it was me standing outside. It did this picture of me with like the sun behind me, and his comment in the comments was, "Ooh, popular with the ladies." That's one of our that's one of our lines in our opening, to our podcast. So these people start throwing the shit at us, and we're not a big podcast, but you know what? We have gotten, when we started to get feedback, I think Mike, you and I were talking about it at like that 6-month period. And that was one of the big things. We started it on a whim, but we started getting these comments and started realizing, people are telling us that they're getting something out of it. And I remember, Mike, you said that was just mind blowing because you were hearing it from normies, right?
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was like, holy shit, somebody's listening and somebody's actually like getting something out of this. Right. Cause I didn't, I still don't care very much. But I didn't care at all when we started this. And yeah, now I do. I care a bit because like apparently we're doing something, and I just looked and this, I mean, I heard there's a radio show here in Cleveland that I listen to most days and during the week when I'm working. And they were talking about podcasts the other day, and he was saying, there's a million out there, but I mean, most people, they do like 3 or 4 episodes, and then they're done. This is our fucking 99th episode, man. We do this thing. Kind of proud of it.
You should be, man, because it's like you build your own community. When I showed up in Lancaster in 2007, I had like a squirrel. Like a squirrel was in my corner. And like, my mom and dad were like loosely in my corner, they were my mom and dad, but they were ashamed.
You burned them pretty good. Right.
Yeah. Like I was their junkie felon loser son. And
exactly.
Like I was moving to a halfway house after rehab again and jail again. And, like around Lancaster now, there's literal hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of young, excited, sober people, middle-aged, excited, sober people, old, excited, sober people. And, I can't really even understate just like what my hand in that was, just by existing and just by offering my heart to people. This community kind of grew and built. And the same thing is true of the community that you built through your podcast, man. You open your heart to people, you share your experience in your life with them, and they are attracted to it. They want to join you, and they want to help people too, and they want to be a part of it. So, kudos to you. And smallish, huge-ish podcast does not matter. If you're hitting people, you're impacting their lives, and I love that. That's the stuff I live for. So
it's funny.
Yeah, congrats. Well, we're taught early on, man. Show up, just show up, man.
Yep.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and
it's the only thing I'm good at.
And we haven't
exactly.
Since the week that we started, we haven't missed a week. We haven't taken a break. We work around our schedules. We'll sometimes record. We've recorded on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Didn't we record Sunday one time? I think we had to.
I think so.
But we still have Monday and Tuesday, but we had actually Mike's girlfriend's son was texting Chris and texting Mike one weekend going, "Where's the podcast? It's not up yet." And it was like 2 hours before I'd posted anyhow. But I'm like, then he messaged me. I'm like, dude, settle down. It's okay. We got it. But I mean, part of that was, I'm like, cool, man, because people look forward to it. But when we were originally contacted by Ronnie from your group, and I always ask the same question. I'm like, okay, first of all, why us? And have you listened to us? Because, I'm like, I want to know, we want to keep this thing as whatever our mission is, which we won't really have like a written mission statement, but we know what we want to do and we know what we don't want to do. And we know what who we want to do it for and who we don't want to do it for, if that makes any sense. So
yeah.
We always ask, we have no issue whatsoever. People have come on here and promoted books and podcasts and all these different things, documentaries. We're all about that. We want people to get their shit out there. And we always joke, whore your stuff out as much as you want, because that's our part of what we want is to get, more sober shit out there. But so I asked, again, why us and where did you hear about us also? And he said that he ran across us, just like in an internet search. I'm like, really? I'm like, that's awesome, because we're all over. If you type in sober not mature, I mean, we come up all over the place. But it amazed me in a really good way that that's how he found us, And I was just, that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. And I don't really care how people find us, but I do. I'm like, you need to listen to make sure that you know what we do, because I want you to get on here, and people, like, we've never had it happen yet. But if we had somebody on here that just wasn't, kind of, if you want to say it, the kids say, vibing with the way that we do, um,
Yeah.
we could easily piss somebody off pretty quickly, and we have no
Mhm.
desire to do that. And it would embarrass probably the person more. We'd have fun with it, but it'd be in a wrong way, but we want to make sure that, again, that the people are, we're trying to promote, positive things that people are doing, is kind of what we're all about. And the other thing too is that we made a decision right off the bat, like everything from the minute we hit record to the minute we hit pause, everything's going on the podcast. We don't edit anything, and we
Yep.
decided, well, to begin with, we decided to do that because I'm like, I'm not taking that much fucking time to try to cut this thing up. So again, back to the selfish part of it. But then it kind of became it's kind of like our thing. And it's like, we've had power outages, we've had mess ups, we've had parts of Michael drop out or I'll drop out. We have all these different things. We've had audio problems. We just keep it all in. It just doesn't matter. And that's just
Lots of dogs.
yes. We've had dogs, we've had fireworks, we've had maybe even gunshots if we've been recording around holidays.
Possibly. Favorite game in Cleveland, Ohio: gunshots or fireworks.
I was just going to make a Cleveland joke right there, but we'll hold that back.
Well, and that's again, summertime, and he's got his neighbors will be out partying and stuff like that. You can hear the music, and you can hear the people bumping in their cars up and down the streets, and But I mean, all of it is just fun. It's people have actually they'll make fun of us, for it, or in a fun way, But like you say, it's just part of what we do, and we sometimes. We do it a lot. We joke about other podcasts, how structured they are. Some of it's cool, and we've got friends of ours that do podcasts, that things that I listen to on a regular basis, and I do because of the structure. But, we're just like, this is what we do. We just want to get on and have hopefully meaningful conversations with interesting people,
Yeah, that's literally akin to what the Night of Recovery is. And we don't really edit anything out. I think they might change the color a little bit, make me look a little less ugly, but really, truly, it's just the conversation, and we're really just doing that on video and in front of however many people come out to watch the Night of Recovery and be a part of it, and the family members that come out for a little bit of education are just as hyped up about the stories as the wrestling fan who comes out because it grew up idolizing Shannon or Jesus or whoever it might be that's a part of it. And man, just how cool is all this
Absolutely,
stuff.
man.
We just get to talk and have a conversation and help people.
Absolutely, share the love, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in your area, and what else are, and I know you do a lot of other things in the area. What else do you want to talk about? I mean, the Night of Recovery is cool, and I had the links in the promo, and I'll have the links again in this episode description to the website for it, so people can hit, obviously click into that. But I guess give us a little bit of an idea what the other things you're doing around because you're in Philadelphia still, right?
So we're in Lancaster.
I'm sorry. Why did I say
Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia? You flew into Philly. That's where I caught that before. Okay.
Yeah. So I flew into Philly this morning about 10,
not
12
a big
hours
airport
ago.
in Lancaster.
Right.
Now we have a little tiny one. Tiny airport. But
I'm sorry about that. That's the first thing. I messed up Tim. I called Tim Todd, and now I'm thinking you're in Philadelphia. So first of all, I'm sorry, Tim, if you happen to be listening to this, and then I apologize to the people of Philly because they don't need to be affiliated with you. Ha ha.
Whoa. Well, if you're not from Pennsylvania, your general opinion of Pennsylvania is there's Pittsburgh, there's Philly, and then there's like corn and woods.
Right.
Hills.
And it's not entirely incorrect because like there's Philly, there's Pittsburgh, and then there's a lot of corn and woods.
Right.
But in the midst of the corn and woods, there are some really awesome little towns and some awesome little cities. And Lancaster happens to be one of those places. And a lot of the stuff we have going on over here that I love to talk about is like those diversion programs. We call it Second Chance PA. And, you know, we've helped about 3,200 people stay out of jail in the last 6 years. And, man, I could not be more hyped up about that stuff. But Blueprints for Addiction Recovery is our treatment center that I happen to be the CEO of. It's something I love talking about as well, because we accept everybody into our treatment center, Medicaid, county funding, no money, no nothing. We don't care. Just come on over, hang out, get sober. Blueprints is just a completely different type of treatment center, and I urge you to check it out if you've never heard of it. Second Chance PA, check that out. We got Three Legacies Wrestling, check that out. We got Red Rose Sports Cards, which is another one of my awesome companies that we have going on. If you know any card collectors, you know, I'm basically just like a really old 8-year-old at this point. You know, you got a wrestling company, a card shop.
Right.
Yeah, we have a food service concession food truck. We have, I can't even tell you, an art gallery in Lancaster. We got the production company, all kinds of different awesome things going on. And in each one of those companies, there's like an attached partner who's also in recovery, or it was like their dream or their life's goal to start that company. And I love just being that dream connector for people. And, you know, Shannon was talking about that tattoo shop. Now, even though I have 0 tattoos, I feel like I got to go open a tattoo shop in Tampa.
Mike's got a couple of tattoos. I think
one or two.
He and Shannon could probably have a conversation or two.
Yeah, head down to Tampa. I'm going to be opening a tattoo shop.
Nice.
Yeah. And who was that we were, I can't remember. We have one of our followers. I don't know if it was Tampa or Miami, some nightclub that she works at, or it's a sober nightclub or comedy club or something like that. She's like, you guys should come down and perform or do your podcast at our comedy club. And Mike and I are just to ourselves. You're like, if anyone wants to pay for us to go down to freaking Miami and do a podcast and, you know, put us up someplace, you know, put us on a plane, we'll head down there.
I think she was in Naples, which is not far from Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't.
There you go.
I couldn't remember, but it's funny. I mean, we've ended up with, and we've got majority of the people who follow us and listen to us are, you know, in the US, but we get some UK, some Canada, some different parts of the, you know, other different areas, but different spots across the country. We get these, you know, individuals that'll, you know, again, start interacting with us. I'm like, oh, you're in Florida, you're in Utah, you're in wherever it is. And it's so much fun to me and both of us, I know, to just hear about, you know, how's recovery here, or what are you guys doing there? And I mean, you got all these different things going on, you know, in Lancaster, PA, you know, which is crazy to me in a good way, you know? So,
yeah, well, you're welcome to come over anytime, man. We got an open door policy in Lancaster. We love everybody.
I know there's a really cool punk rock store down there.
There is. I don't
Angry
remember
Young
what
and
it's
Poor.
called. Yes. I think it closed. I think it's gone.
Really? It was.
It could be.
I think they're still open.
Could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. If you are open and listening to this thing, I apologize.
I know I've ordered some stuff from them.
Hey.
Well, that's.
I'll tell you what. If that particular punk rock shop is open and we just kind of, you know, said it was closed, we'll even do a free advertisement for you to make up for that. How's that?
There you go. Now I feel like I have to go on Google after this and check.
Yeah, feel free. But yeah, so I mean, all these different things, and I didn't. I'll be honest, I didn't take a look at your Instagram page in too much detail. And I know I had you tagged on it and Shannon tagged on it, and I'll do the same thing, obviously, in our description. If people hit your Instagram page, can they get in touch with you for all these different things, or is there like a different website you want me to put in there to like encompasses all those things you just talked about?
You know, I think chrisdreisbach.com is sort of under construction, but I think it has the meat and potatoes on there. You could just reach out to me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, any of those things. Some variation of Chris or Christopher Dreisbach on each one. but I do, respond to messages and always happy to make new friends. And I'm really thankful to be a part of this podcast in general and meet you
Yeah,
guys.
exactly. But yeah, I will have in worst case scenario, I will have obviously your Instagram tag on there, and yeah, anyone who wants to, if somebody somehow can't find Chris, get in touch with us. I mean, and we'll get in touch with him for you. But yeah, I mean that's what this thing is all about, and we just want to be able to, and I joke about it, getting people to kind of whore out their stuff, but that's the point. People don't know what's going on unless you talk about it. There could be somebody in, again, what you
Exactly.
say, one of these little cornfield towns in Pennsylvania that had no clue what's going on, 2 towns over where you're sitting at. So it's always good to get that information out. So what else, Chris? I mean, what else do you want people to know, either about you or the documentary, or anything coming up, anything else that you want to talk about, promote, or just, again, get information out to people?
Wow. I mean, it really depends on your interest. We have a lot of varied stuff going on, if you couldn't tell from that list. But, if you are a wrestling fan, definitely scope out the Three Legacies Wrestling YouTube channel. I think we're also streaming on Premier Streaming Network. And even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's pretty cool to watch guys, fresh out of the academy, kind of learning, really stepping up and taking advantage of, their youth and their dreams and stepping out and doing those things. I just love supporting everybody trying to achieve their dreams. And if you look at life from that perspective, even you can become a professional wrestling fan.
Right.
Because you can watch these guys doing what they love the most, getting to live out their dreams. How could you not love something like that?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And, helping people stay out of jail, obviously really important to me, because jail's no fun.
Right.
I didn't love it. I didn't love any of the 4 trips I took. I haven't asked for
I only took one, but I'm not a fan either.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't meet too many people who loved it, and
No.
I met a lot.
I
of
don't
people.
know. There's a few of them in there that it's kind of their lifestyle now.
Yeah, but I even look at that, and I have a member of my family who's like that, who spent the majority of his adult life in jail, and he's, creeping on 60 now. And
Right.
He was one of the smartest guys I knew, one of the most caring, people who looked out for me, even in those early days when I was starting to get involved in drugs. And I look at that and I think of like wasted potential,
Right.
Because he could have gone on and done greater things than I've been doing.
Right.
Man, just you think about that. Yeah, I think about stuff like that. And
Right. Absolutely. Well, and that's, I'm sure, part of the motivation of keeping people out of that system.
Yeah. So even if you are comfortable being in jail, because I got awfully comfortable with it, and it sickens me to even think about, but I was resigned to the fact that I was on that vicious cycle for the rest of my life. I was only 21, and I thought forever I was doomed.
Yeah, this is all I got. Yep, absolutely. We've all been there, to different degrees, and whatever our own personal hells were, we figured, well, this is it, man. This is this is the way I'm going to live. And it's not. It's a lie, like many of the lies that we tell ourselves.
Exactly. And really being loud about recovery in whatever way it is we can is the most important thing on earth. Because back in 2007, man, I didn't even realize recovery was a thing.
Right.
I just thought it was a bunch of crusty old dudes sitting around the basement, like being mad about their lawnmower. Like that's all I thought.
Being pissed off that they couldn't party anymore.
Yeah. And how many years of my life did I lose because that was my opinion of recovery? So I want to do everything I can to make sure that there is nobody out here in America or the UK or wherever struggling like I used to struggle, thinking that that's the end.
Right. Absolutely, man. Yeah, turn that light on and there's no more fucking darkness.
Come join us, man. It's beautiful.
It is.
And that's the other thing too, that like you said, not necessarily knowing that all of these things are out there. I mean, I think to some extent, That's the same for none of us. Some of us know that it's there, but have no clue that how good life can be. But we always talk about, hey, life still happens, life on life's terms, all those different things. But knowing that we now have the mindset and the tools and the literally the ability, the mental ability to handle whatever life throws at us, and actually what we think might be a quote unquote bad thing or a challenge, we turn around and we're like, hey, not only deal with this, but I can turn this into something positive. And then on top of that, show this guy next to me that look what I did. I don't have a perfect life, but it beats the fuck out of what I had, 14 years ago. I mean,
Yep.
it is. Sobriety is a wonderful thing. It's not perfect, and we're never out here to tell people that it's perfect. But man, it's a damn good thing, and it's a hell of a lot better than anything that, especially towards the end, that any one of us had. I know that much.
Yeah, I can't argue that, not even a little bit.
So one thing, Chris, that in worst case scenario, when you got these other the documentaries or these get-togethers or things like that you got going on, whether they be in Tampa or as you start growing like that, and we tell everyone this that we've had on, if they're doing projects, doing things, anything new that they're having, let us know. Even if it's as much as us, promoting it on Instagram or letting people know, or I'm following both you and Shannon on Instagram now, and I'd be more than happy to share those things, So, and it's an opportunity for us, if nothing else, to try to give back, a little bit, and help you guys give back even further. So, by all means, keep in touch and let us know.
And absolutely, I appreciate that entirely. And why don't we, after this, let's chat. Let's talk about bringing Night of Recovery out to Cleveland and Milwaukee, wherever else.
Yeah,
why
Cleveland.
not?
Cleveland, I know would be a good time, because we got. I think there's
Mhm.
a we as the two of us have. I've got more of a sober community in Cleveland where we got sober. I think Cleveland would be a wonderful place to put something like that together. Don't you, Mike?
Absolutely. Yeah, we got plenty of people here, man, to help you out.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
think it'd be a good time. So.
All right.
All right. So anything else, Chris? One last opportunity for you to take a swing at this. Anything else you want to get out to people before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just really hope you guys watch those Night of Recoveries and repurpose if you can, and really just love it. Reach out to us. Let us know how you feel about it. I know everybody that was involved in all those projects put a lot of heart and a lot of soul and a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of love and a lot of energy and a lot of everything. So we love hearing from people. We love reviews. We love critics. We love everybody. So truly, if you love recovery, if you don't love recovery, reach out. Talk to me. Talk to us. Talk to my friends. Become my friend. And just thanks again for sharing your community with me for this evening and this last hour and some change. It's really it's been an honor.
Not a problem. It's
Yeah, it's been cool, man.
All the thanks is on this side of the table, Chris. Definitely. Little Office Space reference there for you.
Love it.
All right, so Chris, it's time for you and I to be quiet for a couple of seconds here, because Mike is going to run us out of here. Okay.
You got it.
Cool. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. We want to thank Chris and Shannon for coming on and sharing their stories and all that good stuff that they're doing out there. Definitely check their stuff out, because I'm going to do it. And now it is that time, people. It is that time. It is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate. Dream the impossible dream and keep fucking off forever.
So Chris, that is what people parrot back to us all the time. people always message us and they'll message, nice, great thing. Oh yeah, keep fucking off, or they'll be fuck off all the time to it. It's just it's fun. Yeah, we started that. Our sister gave us that. God, long time ago now. Yeah, Mike's favorite part, because he says he knows we're done, and my favorite part because it makes me laugh every damn time. So, but yeah, Chris, 100% thank you. Obviously, if Shannon listens back to this, thank you, Shannon, both of you guys, for coming on, and we appreciate Shannon taking the time out of his night and possibly even getting yelled at by his wife to be on here. So that's even the extra effort. But yeah. We will all talk soon, Chris. Hang out. We'll talk for a minute afterwards. Everyone else, thank you again. And Mike, I'll talk to you soon. I love you, brother. Goodbye.
Love you too, man.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.